Good afternoon, and welcome to Oneness Chat, formerly Baha'i Chat. Every second and fourth Saturday, we have a conversation of justice, unity, and the connection of hearts. This program addresses a variety of topics of material and spiritual development of humanity, and also the challenges that are faced by individuals, by institutions of our country and the world, and at the local community level. We are so happy today that we have two very special guests who are going to talk with us from the very basics, the groundwork to build these new communities, these new institutions, and it starts with our children. So I'd like to introduce them to you. We have with us Ms. Ellen McAllister-Flack. Ellen is a creative, bilingual, English-Spanish, multicultural teacher of more than 40 years. She's lived and taught in California and Arizona, Mexican communities in North and in South Carolina. And she's also lived in Honduras, Central America. They're dealing with multi-ethnic communities. She now lives at the Navajo Nation in Arizona, where she serves as the coordinator of Baha'i children classes for the Fort Defiance cluster. Miss Ellen, as she is affectionately called by her friends and students, believes that parents, the community, and society institutions have a sacred trust in the promotion of the welfare of children and of youth. And that this trust involves the creation of socially just learning environments where young children and youth are valued for their cultural and individual uniqueness, and where they feel safe to learn moral, spiritual virtues, as well as academic content. So Ellen, we're so happy to have you with us today. And accompanying Ellen on this journey is Ntianu Bullock, who was born in North Carolina and educated in Tennessee with a bachelor's degree in psychology and sociology, a master's degree in counseling, and an EDS degree in education with emphasis in curriculum and instruction. She's a mother of 5, a grandmother of 14, and a great grandmother of 5. So that's a very beautiful uniqueness there. She's been a member of the Baha'i faith since she was 17 years of age, and has served at local spiritual assembly in local spiritual assemblies, area teaching committees. These are all institutions of the Baha'i community. She's also pioneered in Honduras. Strangely enough, they both went to the same country, which was kind of unique when we all discovered that. And she served in many home front areas in the USA. She presently serves as a member of the Regional Baha'i Council for the Appalachian States. Her favorite pastime is spending time with the family and being of service to humanity. And I'm sure that's no surprise to any of you. So Ellen and Ntianu, welcome, and thank you so much for being with us this afternoon and talking about this really foundation of our society, the rearing of our children, both of you. Thank you, and thank you for being with us. And we look forward to hearing all that you have to offer for us. So I think we're starting with you, Ellen, is that right?
Yes, yes. This is a real important message from the Universal House of Justice, which clarifies where we are in our society with children and youth. And it's focusing especially on children. And it reads, children are the most precious treasure a community can possess, for in them are the promise and guarantee of the future. They bear the seeds of the character of future society, which is largely shaped by what the adults constituting the community do or fail to do with respect to children. They are a trust no community can neglect with impunity. And I'm going to share with you a video that shows you the goal, the desired outcome of how we want children to interact with each other and with the world, and how they can as adults when they grow up. So how do we raise a generation of children of color to be world citizens? All right, so we're going to see a video that shows you the goal and what we're striving for.
Let all associate, therefore, in this great human garden, even as flowers grow and blend together side by side. Love ye all religions and all races with the love that is true, true and sincere, and show that love through deeds, and show that love. Let all associate, therefore, in this great human garden, even as flowers grow and blend together side by side. The tongue of grandeur hath however in the day of his manifestation proclaimed it is not his to boast who loveth his country, but it is his who loveth the world. Love ye all religions and all races with the love that is true, true and sincere, and show that love through deeds, and show that love. Let all associate, therefore, in this great human garden, even as flowers grow and blend together side by side. Let all associate, therefore, by side by side.
Isn't that beautiful? This is our goal. This is what we strive for. As parents, as teachers, as community, we want so desperately for children to be able to associate with one another, get to know one another, get to trust one another. This is how we raise a generation of children of color to be world citizens and to help all children learn to be friends, to trust one another, to have no fears, and to grow together like flowers in a garden. I remember when I was a little girl and I grew up in a family where I was told that I was a black rose in a beautiful flower garden, and that there is beauty in the diversity and the differences in all of us. And so this is one of the important aspects that we want to share with children in our families, in our communities, in our neighborhoods. And later on, we'll talk about how in neighborhoods and in communities, this can actually come about as a real live thing to do. All right, next. So what is a world citizen? We saw the pictures, we heard the song, the prayer, and this is a quote from Baha'u'llah that says, "The earth is but one country and mankind its citizens." This is our view, this is our goal, this is our aspiration, and this is what we work for. Next. And this is a quote from Baha'u'llah, which goes into detail. And it says, "O children of men, know ye not why we created you all from one same dust, that no one should exalt himself over the other. Ponder at all times in your hearts how you were created. Since we have created you all from one same substance, it is incumbent upon you to be even as one soul, to walk with the same feet, eat with the same mouth, and dwell in the same land, that from your inmost being, by your deeds and actions, the signs of oneness and the essence of detachment may be made manifest. Such is my counsel to you, O concourse of light. Heed ye this counsel, that ye may obtain the fruit of holiness from the tree of wondrous glory." So this is the reality. What we're living when we're fussing with each other about color, about race, about culture. We are one human family. And this is something that is so important to teach the children, for them to realize that even though we are different in the way we look, in the way we act, in the way we feel, we are of one substance, one soul. Next. Next, okay. Who do we want these children to be? We want these children and to have a sense of justice, all right? And Baha'u'llah says, "The best, O son of spirit." So he's calling to us, "O son of spirit, the best beloved of all things in my sight is justice. Turn not away therefrom if thou desirest me, and neglect it not, that I may confide in thee. That by its aid thou shalt see with thine own eyes, and not through the eyes of others, and shalt know of thine own knowledge, and not through the knowledge of thy neighbor. Ponder this in thy heart, how it behooveth thee to be. Verily, justice is my gift to thee, and the sign of my loving kindness. Set it then before thine eyes." Now, this has real serious implications for the education of children, youth, and the development and understanding of adults, that we should see with our own eyes, through our own investigation, through our own discovery, that by its aid we shall see with our own eyes, and not through the eyes of others. We shall know of thine own knowledge, and not through the knowledge of thy neighbor. So this has got true consequences as we think about the education of children. Ponder this in thy heart, how it behooveth thee to be. Verily, justice is my gift to thee and the sign of my loving kindness. And I know in classrooms, in families, in communities, in classrooms, justice is very important to be established in the very local communities, in the way families interact with each other, in the way that neighbors interact with each other, and the way that the community interacts with each other, and in the social institutions of the school, of the schools, and in the community institutions. Next. Now, this is a prayer set to music that shows where our focus is, that our focus is the oneness of mankind through a recognition of God.
To
So where does this curriculum come from? The source of all learning is the knowledge of God. And we call him by many names. We call him the creator, the higher power. In Spanish, he's called Dios. In the Middle East, he's called Allah, but this is one God. And this knowledge of moral behavior, of spiritual virtues, of morality, comes through the recognition of God's divine teachers, the messengers that he has sent, the prophets of God that he has sent, from Abraham, Moses, Christ, Muhammad, Buddha, Zoroaster, Krishna, the Bab, and Baha'u'llah. And there are prophets of God that came before recorded history that have been passed down in native cultures through stories and through oral traditions that we do not know their names. But when you study native culture and traditions, you hear the golden rule, you hear the basis for the way man has to treat man, the way that we need to grow in our families and in our communities and in our nations and throughout the world. Remember, we are trying to get this mindset that the earth is one country and all of mankind are its citizens. And I know my heart is breaking at the news and at the inhumanity to man that is going on right at this very moment. How can we treat each other like this? Some of us have lost that sense of the higher power and the knowledge of the spirituality and the unity of all mankind, that we are truly brothers. And we need to come and find this love for one another again and build communities that are strong in the love of God and in love for mankind. Next. So what are the guiding principles? Okay, this is a wonderful quote. It says, regard man as a mine rich in gems of inestimable value. Education can alone cause it to reveal its treasures and enable mankind to benefit therefrom. So this is who we are as individuals. We are rich mines, gems of value that every child, every individual has so much potential to develop and to give to the world, to help, to educate, to bring peace, to make scientific discoveries, to help build a world unified community. Next. And so we say spiritual principles are the foundation of moral values, are the foundation of human potential. These are qualities of the heart, qualities of the soul, of the spirit. And, you know, in schools, over the years, schools have tried to incorporate into their curriculum these qualities of the heart, of the spirit, of the soul. And the focus really needs to be, you know, to help children develop a pure heart. My first counsel is this: possess a pure, kindly, and radiant heart. Justice, we talked about justice, how to see with thine own eyes and not through the eyes of others, to be fair, to be just, and the love of God and love of his creation. Now, this is not sectarian beliefs. We're not trying to share the doctrines of religion, but we are the source of this love of God is the reason for the behavior and how it needs to change to truthfulness, sincerity, selflessness, sharing, generosity. Joy gives us wings. I know that seeing all the sadness and all the corruption and all the negative things is depressing all of mankind. And if we can find a sense of joy and love for one another, then the joy uplifts us and gives us the energy to go on. Humility, how important all of these are. Thankfulness, gratitude, detachment, kindness, courage, hope, service to the community, service to the family, patience. These are the spiritual principles. These are the foundation of moral values. And these are qualities of the heart that need to be taught in the family, then in the schools, and in the community. It takes a village to raise a child. This isn't something that you can do all by yourself. It takes a village, and every one of us has an impact to play with children and with youth. And we'll talk in a little bit about organizing in neighborhoods next. So who's responsible for this? All right, well, the parents are the first teachers, and then the teachers in the community schools, and then the community itself, that after school, children are not left to their own devices, that they have neighbors to visit and help and be with, that they have community organizations that will gather them together and make sure that they're being taken care of while parents are working. We have the institutions of the schools, and we have institutions of the community, neighbors gathering together to say prayers, to advance the neighborhood. All right, next, please. So in this quote, in this video, you're going to see the community gathering together and helping children develop and to grow into the kinds of people that will see the world as one human family. Please play. Video.
Help me to be caring and loving. Help me to see the beauty in the world. With hope to succeed, I'll keep trying and trying. Help me to bring some good to the world. So help me to be the light that's in me. Be brave and let your light through. Illuminate the sky like the stars do. Be brave, shine through. Help me to be caring and loving. Help me to see. I'll keep trying, trying, trying. Help me to bring to the world. So help me to be the light that's in me.
Help me to be the light that I see deep within me, so I can shine constantly in a world that's so dark. I'm trying to open up my heart. Can you imagine this flame that can grow from one spark? I don't know what else to say, except that today I'm living my life like this light never goes away, forever gonna make my eyes illuminate. Have you ever seen the night turn into day? It's the definition of how me and you can change. Give it just a minute, we are living in an infinite design. Isn't it exquisite? Open up the heart, the gems hidden in it. Always time to start, never time to finish. So now is the time to
be brave and let your light through. Illuminate the sky like the stars do. Be brave, shine through. Hidden within are a myriad virtues, these luminous gems of immeasurable worth. And as we educate, we alleviate all the pain of our troubled world. and enable mankind to grow. The light that's in me. Grow. The light that's in me. The light that's in me.
I wanted to close my portion by inviting you to seek out the Baha'i community in your area and join with devotions, interfaith devotions, all religions, all backgrounds in prayers in the neighborhood and in the community. There are junior youth groups, there are children's classes, and study circles that help all communities, all faiths, all religions come together, that we're working together to build a world of unity and building a world of love. And my friend Ntianu is going to share how this is happening in her community with her family and her community. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Ellen, for bringing that to us. And I'm sure there are questions that are coming up as we're going along. So if anyone has questions, please put them in the chat. And after the presentation by Ntianu, we'll be able to look at those and give and address them. Thank you. So Ntianu, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I am so happy to be here today. And I too have a bit of a slide presentation. And we can begin. What I want to show you is one human family and my family. Now, this one human family picture that you see here are Baha'is from all over the world. And it looks like a beautiful flower garden. And I do believe this picture might have been in one of Ellen's pictures. Now, what Baha'is believe is that we are one human family. Okay, next. These are my children and my nieces, 2 nieces and my grandchildren, rather, rearing children to be world citizens. And my family here is composed of many backgrounds. We have Latino on both ends, the little ones, and we also have Latino and Black. We also have Black and white, and we also have Black. So if we will continue, there is perfect brotherhood underlying humanity, for all are servants of one God and belong to the family under the protection of divine providence. These are my grandbabies in the pink and the purple. And the young lady on the far left is the young lady on the far right's best friend. And the young lady in the front and the one next to my grandbaby that's in the purple, she has glasses on, are the girls in the purple's best friends. Okay. The conviction that we belong to one family is at the heart of the Baha'i faith. The principle of the oneness of humankind is the pivot round which all the teachings of Baha'u'llah revolve. Now, this is my niece in the middle on the left, and her daughter in the pink and her son in the rust. And that's the same son with his father on the right. So we see our family is mixing. Okay, next. Baha'u'llah compared the world of humanity to the human body. Within this organism, millions of cells, diverse in form and function, play their part in maintaining a healthy system. The principle that governs the functioning of the body is cooperation. Its various parts do not compete for resources. Rather, each cell from its inception is linked to a continuous process of giving and receiving. Acceptance of the oneness of humanity demands that prejudice, whether racial, religious, or gender related, must be totally eliminated. Okay, next, please. Now, this is the way I brought my kids up. And so now you're seeing my grandkids. The Baha'i teachings state that since all humans have been created in the image of God, God does not make any distinction between people, regardless of race or color. Thus, because all humans have been created equal, they all require the equal opportunities and treatment. Thus, the Baha'i view promotes the unity of humanity, and that people's visions should be world embracing, and that people should love the whole world rather than just their nation. The teaching, however, does not equal unity with uniformity, but instead, the Baha'i writings advocate for the principle of unity in diversity, where the variety in the human race is valued. Next, please. Living the principle of oneness. Next, this is my son. In the upper left corner, you see him and his godchild. She actually believes he is her grandfather. She calls him Papa. And this is my son right under that picture with his best friend in the cowboy hat. They've been best friends since kindergarten. And this is my son, same son, with his wife, Karen. Acceptance of the oneness of humanity demands that prejudice, whether racial, religious, or gender related, must be totally eliminated. Next, please. Today, the human race is passing through a period of turbulent adolescence, moving towards the next stage in its life, a stage of maturity characterized by the emergence of a united global civilization. This is my grandson in the background and his son in the foreground and in the upper right corner. Next, please. The world of humanity is like a garden, and the various races are the flowers which constitute its adornment and decoration. The very fact that there is difference and variety lends a charm to the garden. If all the flowers were of the same color, the effect would be monotonous and depressing. This is my son in the bottom left, looking at his beautiful daughter, Navi, and his other daughters behind him, his son and wife on the right. Okay, in the middle, same son, and all of their children. On the left, you see Amaya, who was missing from the first picture, which is Amani and Amira and Anderson, and Navi. And Navi got her name from Ivan. Ivan is the father, I-V-A-N, and Navi is the last child, N-A-V-I, absolutely opposite. Now, you can't see Navi on the left with Ivan, but you can see her on the right, holding the flowers that she's bringing to her mommy, and she's all dressed up in her beautiful little Latino outfit. Next, please. Now, our well-being, our peace and security are all dependent upon the firm establishment of unity. To create this new world, many patterns of behavior that characterized earlier phases of our existence must be put aside. Abdu'l-Baha wrote, "We must strive unceasingly and without rest to accomplish the development of the spiritual nature in man, and endeavor with tireless energy to advance humanity toward the nobility of its true and intended station, we must all strive with heart and soul until we have the reality of unity in our midst. Now, this is my fourth son on the right with his three babies, and they are, the baby is Cree, the son is Zane, and the oldest one is Irie. And this is his wife on the left with the same three babies. Okay, next, please. Racism, one of the most baneful and persistent evils, is a major barrier to peace. Its practice perpetuates too outrageous a violation of the dignity of human beings to be countenanced under any pretext. This is the promise of world peace. One of the problems which has lingered on into the present age is that of racism, which holds back the potential of all people and blights human progress. The Baha'i faith believes fervently that the unity of all races and peoples is the only way forward for suffering humanity under pressure from the collapse of the old order. Some people turn to a recipe of racism for a reaffirmation of their identity. The Baha'i writings, to the contrary, emphasize oneness and unity and diversity. Next, please. Now, this is a picture of my grandson on the left, second from the left, and my granddaughter, who is second from the right. Actually, it's opposite. Second from the right is my grandson, second from the left is my granddaughter. And those are their youth friends that they went on this interesting trip with. And they also do a lot of community service together. Next, please. All prejudices, whether of religion, race, politics, or nation, must be renounced, for these prejudices have caused the world's sickness. It is a grave malady which, unless arrested, is capable of causing the destruction of the whole human race. Every ruinous war with its terrible bloodshed and misery has been caused by one or other of these prejudices. The Baha'i community dedicates itself to creating united local communities representing people of diverse backgrounds and differing temperaments. It is now spread throughout the world in global terms. About 1/3 of the Baha'is live in Africa and another third in Asia. Its message of economic justice and racial harmony appeals not just to minority peoples, but also to those from culturally dominant backgrounds who realize that there must be a spiritual solution to the world's problems. It promotes the idea that the oneness of mankind should be taught in every school in the world, as Baha'is believe that unity is necessary for the happiness of individuals and of nations. The accomplishment of unity between the races will be an assurance of the world's peace. Next, please. This is a picture of me and my grandbabies, and this is a question that I want to give you for thought. What, as a child, were you taught about race? I would like you to think of examples of how this has impacted your life. Thank you so much for listening. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Ntianu and Ellen again. That to end with that very thought-provoking question, what have you taught? Tell us what it is again. I think you put it in, it's been placed in the chat. You want to say it again?
Okay. It is, hold on one second. It is, what as a child were you taught about race? And think of examples of how this has impacted your life.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we'll ask that you think about that question, and also the I think the highlights of things that Ellen brought to us in looking at our background, I think one thing that kept coming out for me was like it started with identity. You know, who are we? You know, who defines who we are? And that identity starts from the time that we are a child. So I want to allow people to get a chance to think about those few questions, and we'll have a few minutes break, and then when we come back, we may have some more questions, and then we're going to ask our panelists to also think about those questions that they put out there, and they will give you their impressions as well. Thank you, and welcome back. I think we're going to look at a few questions that have been posed by some of the folks who are in attendance with us today. One of them asked the question, both of you gave beautiful quotations that were your foundation to where you are now and how you feel about rearing your children. And the person is asking if you could give a bit more examples of things that you've done as educators in using those types of quotations in dealing in your work professionally. Maybe because both of you perhaps could respond to that if you would.
Okay, I will respond to it. One of the things that I have done, and I've taught almost every grade level. I taught preschool, elementary, middle school, science, literature, and health, and high school, biology, and university nursing. And every one of them, I always had really beautiful quotations. I did not particularly have the ones that we had today, but I had quotations about how we can do anything that we can conceive of, we can achieve it. And I also had quotations like, we are all flowers of one garden. And I would have groups discussing things, and I always made sure all of the groups were very diverse. And I also talked a lot about my experiences and how we are a flower garden, and we would sing, because I love to sing. And so especially in elementary school and middle school, I sang a lot. And I would teach the kids, I would say, okay, you all look like you're tired. Let's get up and sing a song. And I would sing the song called Father Abraham, because nobody could really say anything about it being from one religion or another. I mean, I just sang, Father Abraham had 7 children. 7 children had Father Abraham. Some of them were Black, some of them were white, and all of them were beautiful. And I would make my kids know how much I adored every one of them. Even in college, every one of them knew that I cared very much. I thought when I left high school and went to college that the gifts would stop at Christmas, but they didn't. They just got more expensive. So it was really, really a wonderful time of my life to assist in the growth of individuals. And I tried to do it educationally, emotionally. I'm also a counselor. And so I counseled middle school and I counseled adults. And so I tried everything that's in me, because I've been a Baha'i for a very long time, everything to help everyone know that they are on a path of being all that they could be, and they want to make their parents proud, and that everyone in this classroom is absolutely equal and absolutely wonderful and an A student. You start off an A student, keep it there. And that's the way I taught.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Ellen, did you have a comment that you want to say on that?
Yes. I feel like Ntianu and I are true sisters, because what she did in her class are things that I did in my classroom. And one of the things that I loved was literacy. And so I have, over the years, collected multicultural books for wherever I was. And I would usually start out by reading this book, All the Colors of the Earth, because, yeah, it shows how we are diverse and how we are different and how we are the same. And in all of the books, you see the beautiful diversity of the human race. And I just would like to share these pictures. It says, children come in all the colors of the earth. The roaring browns of bears and soaring eagles. And so I remember as a child, when I went to school, I never saw anybody that was brown with curly hair. And and that affected me. And so I have spent my life collecting books and giving them to children so that they know how beautiful they are. And this one says, the whispering golds of late summer breezes. How wonderful for children to see themselves and to feel a sense of their own worth and their own beauty. And to feel like they are contributing this beauty, this worth, their culture to the whole, and the crackling russets of falling leaves. And then it's going to talk about, and the tinkling pinks of seashells by the rumbling sea. Unfortunately, I can't read this by looking at the screen because it's backwards. Now this is important, and especially for Black children, who wear their hair in cornrows, who wear their hair in afros, who wear their hair straight, who wear their hair in many different ways. Children come with hair like bouncy baby lambs. How wonderful to see this picture. Mm-hmm. To feel that, it's okay that my hair is curly or that your hair is straight. We're beautiful no matter what. I remember at one time I was ashamed as a small child. My hair had to be straight in order for me to feel like I was beautiful. And then my parents, encouraged, and then of course society turned to accepting people of color with their curly hair, or hair that flows like water. Or hair that curls like sleeping cats on snoozy cat corners, cat colors. This is very powerful. Children come in all the colors of love, in endless shades of you and me. This is so wonderful for children to see this, and especially beginning in preschool, well, actually in the home. I read books like this to my children, and then I read these books to my students. And for love comes in cinnamon, walnut, and wheat. Love is amber and ivory and ginger sweet. Like caramel and chocolate and the honey of bees. Dark as leopard spots, light as sand. This is really an important concept. Black children have often been made to feel bad. The darker they are, the worse they feel. And that's not fair. That's not just. We are beautiful, all of us. In fact, this just reminds me, and I'm not going to read any more books, but I'm going to just share with you, The Blacker the Berry. This is a wonderful book to have. You need to know that Black is beautiful, as well as the Black child needs to know that Black is beautiful. Mm-hmm. And here, Pablo and Pimienta. This is a story for children of Latin, Mexican heritage. Here is I Am Latino, the beauty in me. Very important for these children to have these books. And actually, not only is it important for the children who are Latino to have these books, but it's important for the white children to have these books. The white children need to know about being Black and brown. Being with you this way. Beautiful book. And you do all kinds of movements. I live here on the Navajo Nation, and I share with the children not only these books of other cultures, but of their own culture. And it shares and makes them feel a sense of pride in their who they are. And they can go out into the world, stick their chest out and say, I've got something to contribute to the world. I'm beautiful, I'm Black, I'm brown, I'm white, and I can do anything. And here's, oh, okay, there we go. Oh, and here's a story about the Hogan. Okay, and then, so it's just wonderful. I love books. I'm a bookaholic, you know? If I go by a bookstore, I have to go in and see what I can find and then share it with the children, the community, and thank you so much. I hope I didn't talk too much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, both of you. I have a statement here I want to read, and then I have a question. One person says that, she says, I lived on the Pine Ridge Reservation when I was 4 for the summer. Later, I realized my parents was just asked to help with the Amos Gibson by African American Baha'is because they had pioneered together in the Crow Creek Reservation where I was created. I was full of joy to be there. The subconscious messages I got was that we were honored and proud to be there for more altruistic belief than most European Americans. And thank you so much for that statement. There's a question. Another question says, what advice would you all give to professional youngsters in the education field? What advice would you give to those in the education field? Young people, either one of you, please.
Yeah, one thing is, like Ellen said, books. No matter what I was teaching, I had a lot of books on unity in the classroom. They just sat around the classroom and kids would see them and they would say, can I read this? And I'd say, sure, take it with you. And we can, just make sure that when we're talking to the classroom, we make sure that everyone is paid attention to. It just hurt my heart when my child came home and told me that she would raise her hand and the teacher never called on her. And so we can't ever do that. We have to make sure we acknowledge the presence of everyone in our classroom and help everyone feel important and help everyone feel a part of the circle of friends.
Great, thank you. And Ntianu, I think there's also a question for you. It's like, have you ever had experience in the work field where injustice was placed upon you because of your race?
Absolutely. When I was teaching 7th and 8th grade literature, we had a lot of books on things like Black Boy or Jungle Book, a lot of things like that we were reading because we were doing a holistic reading. We were doing a holistic learning. And so reading, math, and science were to get together and do the same types of things so that the students could learn each area in each classroom. And so together, we chose these books and we chose them based on the suggested readings after the literature stories. And I made sure I got books that were all inclusive. And so when I gave the list to the principal, he approved it, probably without looking at it, because after we got the books, some sort of way, he saw Black Boy and he did not want the class to read that book. And so instead of asking me why I chose it, he went around to every classroom and asked all the students to put all of my books in a garbage bag that he was carrying around. And so he threw them all away and stopped my part of the holistic reading. And I went to talk to him, and he just got really, really, really ugly. And, you know, I kept talking softly. He was screaming. So since he was screaming, I told him I would come back when he could talk with me calmly. And so I walked out of the door, and he continued to scream. So the next day he called me in. This day I had a tape player. I'm trying to have a civil conversation here. And but he didn't want to. And so he never, ever came to the conclusion that he was wrong. And so my classes had to continue to read just the literature books that we had been assigned, and they were so hurt because all of them were already in the middle of books and they wanted to finish them, but he took them. And some of the kids had left a couple at home, and they would say, I have my book at home and I'm still reading it. And I said, good for you. And that was it. And so, you know, we dealt with it, but we didn't deal with it. We talked about it, but he never, ever gave the books back or said that was wrong or anything. And so I just thought that was really a sad experience. You know, we never got to a real end of it.
I see. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Sure.
Do you, then this is for either of you, do you see that teaching children of color there is a uniqueness in doing that in today's climate? Is there something unique that do you have to have special skills? I mean, how do you see that whole thing of teaching children of color today in the climate that we have here in this country?
Well, I think it's really important to know the culture. Wherever I have gone, I have immersed myself in the culture of the people and incorporated into the classroom that culture. For example, here on the Navajo Nation, you know, as I mentioned, I have materials and books, but I also, the elders in the community taught me a lot. And getting involved, if you're living in a different culture than the one you are a part of, it's really important to get involved with the community and know them. And I remember being taught a song that the Navajo people sang on their way back from their long walk. And an elder taught that to me, and I taught that to my children in the classroom. And they were Navajo children, but they had never learned this song. I think that there's sometimes a generation gap between the elders and the young parents and then the children. So the young parents aren't necessarily teaching their children their culture, and it's the grandparents that are teaching the culture. And so the grandparent taught me this song, and I taught it to the children. And then one of my parents was so excited when we had parent conference, and they said, oh, my child is singing Shinasha, you know, which is a very sacred, special song. And so it's really important to incorporate cultural values that reflect what the people have gone through. And I would think the same when I was in South Carolina and in North Carolina, we did a study of quilts that grandparents had done, quilts that told stories, quilt that showed heritage, quilt that shared family experiences. And actually we videotaped those quilts. And of course, that was years and years and years ago. And of course, those grandparents have passed on since. And one of the kids said to me, I'm so grateful that we did that, because I now have a video. Well, in those days, it was what? Those big cameras you put on your on your back here, and you did this. But anyway, they have now a record of their grandmother, and she's sharing the quilts that she made and the meanings of those quilts. So it's, I think, absolutely imperative that teach, and plus we need, anybody out there, please become teachers. We need you so desperately to teach and to be kind to children and to love them and to help them see that they are beautiful and that they have things to contribute, that their cultures have something to contribute. People are leaving the profession and people are getting old like myself. And that, we need a new generation of young people to go out there and teach. There's that song, Teach Your Children Well. Of course, that's an old song. I don't know if you guys know it or not.
And in addition, of what Ellen is saying, we have to learn the culture and speak to it, just like Ellen taught those kids that song. Even in math, we can talk about Black mathematicians and we can talk about Latino mathematicians. We can just do our work and make sure that we interject something about every culture of every child we have, because it is so important to that child. When I was in Honduras, I was teaching first grade, and I only said one word in Spanish the whole time I was talking to them. I called them niños one day, and they were like, look, she knows Spanish. And I thought, oh my goodness, I don't know Spanish. I only know niños mean kids. So I called them niños because we were just beginning the lesson. And I said, niños, listen. And they looked up and they were like, wow. And so it is extremely important that we interject the background of the kids into our lessons, and they will listen better. They really will listen better.
Thank you. What about gender and in the teaching profession? Do you guys think that's something we need to look at compared to
That's a hot issue. That's a hot potato right now. My goodness. I think it's important that little girls be given, especially like if you're teaching preschool, you have the boys that want to do the blocks and the trains and the cars, and the hammer and the nails. And I remember I went to a what they called a progressive school in those days. And I was encouraged as a little girl to play with the hammer and the nails and to build and to do the blocks and the cars and the trucks. And it's also good for the little boys to play in the housekeeping as well, to learn how to be kind to the dolls, to treat them well so that they won't grow up to be abusive husbands or abusive to their children. The gender education needs to be, how do I say,
the lines need to be stopped.
Pardon?
There need to be no lines.
Yes, thank you. Yes. And
is it I'm assuming that the educators are predominantly female. Is that right?
Yes. We need some men. Come on, guys. Let's get in there. We need you.
That's right.
Those little boys, and especially the little Black boys, need to see you. They need you so badly. Please go into education. They need you. Because society is really rough on little Black guys. They just have it rough from the first day they enter school, really. And hopefully they can make it through and go to high school and college and somehow our culture needs to emphasize men in education. That would be so important.
Yes, another thing, our culture needs to emphasize how important education is and the educators, because we have noticed so many people who would be wonderful teachers not going into education because they know that they are not as respected as maybe someone who was in, I don't know,
an engineer.
A doctor, an engineer, right? And that is not good, because teachers provide the engineers and the doctors. We train them, and if we don't train them, then there won't be any. And so, even though it is not respected in the form of how much everyone is paid and that type of thing. If we really want to serve humanity, we have to teach. We just have to, because teaching is just the way to make open minds filled with wonderment and how to be world citizens and how to love everyone and respect everyone and intelligently do it. Just let everyone, that everywhere you go, know who you are and what you are about. And you do that by being educated. And so being an educator is a wonderful field.
It draws on the blessings of God.
Yes.
Teaching is the most meritorious, most blessed thing that anyone can do, to educate the children of men. And we are all the children of God. And if we are educators, we are truly blessed. And so I would encourage anyone to please, change your profession and get into that classroom, son.
That's right.
I have another question here. The person is asking, and I think I'll use that word. In what ways do you feel the talk is harmful to children of color? In what ways do you feel the talk is harmful to children of color?
Personally, I do not think it is harmful. I think it protects them. I think it's the reality of the situation. And, I have two sons, and I think, and especially, children of color need to know that right now our world is not where it needs to be, and that we have a long way to go. And in the meantime, you need to be aware of what you do, how you do it. To this day, I can go into a store and I'm followed, and they look at me and they think, oh, she's going to shoplift, and I have to, I pick up something and I kind of look, everybody, I'm looking at it, and here I'm putting it back. It is important for your survival as a Black child, as a Mexican child, as an Indian child, to know your surroundings and know how people feel about you, so that you can act accordingly and not get caught up in a system that is waiting to entrap you. You just have to be careful. Do the talk. It is important. And then also, but as a human being, I love, but also as a human being, I need to be careful. I can still love and be careful. Oh, there's a saying that I grew up with. Muhammad said, trust in the Lord, but tie your camel. And tying your camel is doing that talk, that this is how the world is right now. This isn't fair. This isn't just, but I want you to survive. So this is what you do,
Thank you.
I too feel like the talk doesn't bring any negativity. I believe it is very, very necessary and very helpful. My kids and I, my grandbabies, I have 4 sons also, and I had to teach them that talk because they needed to know it, especially when it was time for them to drive. And every one of them were very thankful that I did. So they knew exactly what to do if they were stopped or when they were stopped, because they were stopped every time they went out almost. And so they knew exactly what to do. And if we don't have that talk, our children will not be protected and they will end up dead. And we don't want that. So it is not harmful. It is extremely helpful. And I don't see anything negative about it. My grandbabies and I, who live with me, went shopping the other day. And every section we went to, the same woman came over in full clothes. And my 15-year-old said, Grandmommy, look, this lady is following us. And I said, yes, she's watching to make sure we don't steal anything. And she said, we're not going to steal anything. I said, I know, but we are brown. And so they think that brown people steal. So, and my baby said, that is so sad. You know, I think I hadn't prepared her well enough because she had not observed anybody following us before in a store. And it was truly sad. It was it was her and the 13-year-old and myself, just, you know, 3 Black people. And none of us looked to most people like we would steal, but to her, we were Black. So let's follow. And she asked periodically, are you finding everything okay? Can I help you? And we were like, you just asked 2 seconds ago. And if we need something, we will let you know, but we didn't do it. We didn't say, we weren't mean. We were nice. No, thank you. We're good. And so when we got ready to go, you know, we paid for our stuff and we left. And the kids they talked about it all the way home. I could not believe that woman followed us. So if we don't have the talk, the kids are seriously unprepared for what we have in the world today, and which we have to change by our classrooms, by our going into the neighborhoods and assisting with children's classes and junior youth classes and spiritual parenting and everything. We have to be active and proactive in making sure that this thought of Black people and brown people still goes away. We got to get rid of every prejudice in the world. And we just have to be active in what we do. We have to talk to our children and we have to talk to the perpetrators. There was a lady, a friend of mine, a lady who was my grandbaby's best friend's mother has a 15-year-old who was my baby's friend and a 5-year-old. When the child was 3, we've known them for quite a few years. When the child was 3, they got a new cat. And the cat was a little bitty kitten, and it was brown and Black only. I mean, totally brown and Black. And the little girl looked at it and she said, it looks like an N-word. And so everybody was super shocked. And so we had to have this discussion about why that word shouldn't be used in anybody's home, so that babies like this one will never use it. And she didn't know not to use it around us and only in the house. She shouldn't have used it in the house. And if she wouldn't have heard it, she wouldn't have used it. And so we talked about that. And the mama insisted that she didn't know where she got it from. And the sister insisted, you know, she didn't know where she got it from. But we know she got it from somewhere. And so we just want to make sure that everyone is aware. Anytime anything is done that is unjust, we must speak to it. And we must teach our kids to speak to it. And unless it's a police officer, then just don't say a word. But anyway, we need to speak to these things so that we can change the world into a better place and actually have world citizens that know they are sisters and brothers. Because when you know everyone is your sister or brother, and when you know that you look at the face of an individual and you're looking at the face of God, then you won't be ugly. You won't be mean to people. You will say good things, you will do good things, and you will be good all the time. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And we're drawing towards the end here. We do want to mention that, and we're going to give you guys a chance to respond once more. We do want to mention someone was asking about the books that Ellen was showing, and I'm sure Ntianu has some. And those of you who would like to receive titles and authors of those books, as we have your emails, they can be sent to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I will share these titles. Actually, I have hundreds and hundreds of books. I'm trying to. I'm a senior now, an elder, and I know that, you know, my time is limited. So I'm trying to diffuse these books and get them to the younger people so that you can continue, you know, sharing these with children. So I will share the titles of the books that I have, and you can also, you know, go online and look up multicultural books. You can look up online and look books, African American books. or books for Black children. Um, um, Amazon has lots of books. You know, one thing you can do is when I first came here to Arizona, I went to the library. I didn't have any books about Native people. I went to the library, and of course, the library had lots of books. I checked out every single one of those books about Native, all the different tribes. I wrote down their titles and their authors. When I returned the books to the library, I then bought the books myself because, you know, I never want to return books. I want to keep them. So I started building little by little my my books. And now that I live here at NABI, at the Native American Baha'i Institute, I'm donating all of my Native books, Apache, Hopi, Pueblo, Navajo, just, you know, all the wonderful, beautiful tribes here, so they can stay here at NABI. And then there is a wonderful museum that's being established in North Carolina, of African American Museum. And so I'm donating lots of children's books, Black books about children to that museum, hoping that, you know, now right now that's a big issue. You know, what do they call it? The critical race theory. But anyway, someday, you know, these books will be treasured, you know, and they will dig them out of places and share them with people. And I'm hoping that nobody will get into trouble by sharing these books. But if it's, I'm glad that they're going to go somewhere where in the future they may be used.
So we were going to now ask Ntianu and Ellen if they have any final things they would like to say to you here. They have given us quite a lot of information. And what I'm hearing is protect, look after, and rear our kids. But I'll let them give a few final remarks to the audience.
I would just like to say, we have to make sure that we teach our kids to bring everyone into the circle of friends. There's nothing like a child feeling like no one can see them. And one of my babies asked me if I would come to their middle school and talk to the kids because they have a lot of suicides. There has no business being suicide among middle school kids, among anyone, but middle school kids who don't even know who they are yet. You know, we have to make sure we befriend, we have the kids befriend each other and help all of the kids understand how important everyone is, so that doesn't happen.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
I wanted to mention that you check out the local Baha'i community where you live, because there are devotionals, and it's really important that the community, that the individual families, that the individual children, that we all recognize that we are children of one God, and that we need to pray to God and be guided by spiritual principles. You know, I think schools don't want to acknowledge that, you know, they do want children to behave, and that the rules of behavior really are spiritual principles that have come from many religions, you know. So out of the context of the school, in the community, families and neighborhoods can gather together, pray from the many different perspectives and religions that exist in the community, develop a sense of oneness with each other, begin to share and talk to each other, begin to serve and help each other. And there are young people that are doing children's classes. There are grandmas that are doing children's classes where these actual virtues that we've been talking about, like joy, humility, thankfulness, kindness, courage, are actually taught through a program of children's classes that is non-denominational, but is spiritually based. And then there are junior youth groups that Ntianu's children, you know, her children have gone through children's classes and junior youth groups and our youth. And here is a wonderful place for young people to be centered on their spiritual reality. That we don't need to be afraid of that word spiritual. It doesn't mean religious domination. It means our relationship to God, our relationship to each other. So children's classes, local children's classes, junior youth groups, local junior youth groups, adult study circles where adults are being trained to do these classes for children, to do these classes for youth, and to do it from a spiritual perspective. And even if you're just one person in a community, you could look into, you know, how do I train myself and establish a children's class? Bring my neighbors together for prayers. Let them know that whatever religion or faith they believe in, that it's one God and we can come together in prayer. The world needs this so much right now. You know, who knows what's going to happen? And we have to gather together locally, you know. So anyway, that's my thought is you know, try to work with your neighbors and your friends and your well, within your family, then your neighborhood, then your community, you know, and it goes out to the world.
And one final thing, if you are a teacher or not, in your home or at school, you can call it character development. And same thing, you still have the virtues. I always taught character development in my classes. We would have a theme for the week, and I would just put it out there and tell everybody, you know, everybody would talk about what it means. And I'd say, you know, we're going to look at each other, and every time you're caught, you know, doing something in this particular character development, you get a star, you know, you get a mark, you get a whatever. And at the end of the week, we see who has the most, and they get the prize, and that kind of thing. And so, you know, we can introduce spiritual qualities at home by praying with our family. If we have family devotionals, it keeps everyone in the home looking toward God more. And when there's a problem in their life, in the kids' life or the family, you know, the parents' life, then they will be able to look inward, say a prayer, figure out what to do that's not a harmful thing, and continue moving forward.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you both. Thank you both for talking to us on so many different levels. As educators, as parents, as grandparents, as neighbors, so many levels. So we hope, and I'm sure the information that you've given to everyone here, we can all hopefully leave with the idea of doing more. And that's what these sessions are all about, is what can I do tomorrow that make it a little better than what I did today. And so hopefully with all the things that have been shared with us by Ellen and Ntianu, it can give us some examples and we can strive to do that. So have a good day and look out for our children and empower them.